Obama's epic takedown of Donald Trump, whereby he just proved that he's more upset about Republican rhetoric than he is about actual terrorism. Now we have John McCain coming out and saying, you know what, Obama is directly responsible for the Orlando attack. So he took it even a step further than Donald Trump. So Senator John McCain was talking to a group of reporters, and he did say President Obama was directly responsible for the terror attack in Orlando due to his failure to combat the rise of the Islamic State terror group. He said Barack Obama was told, before he pulled everybody out of Iraq, Al-Qaeda went to Syria, became ISIS, and ISIS is what it is today thanks to Barack Obama's failures. He pulled everybody out of Iraq, and I predicted at that time that ISIS would go unchecked and there would be attacks. It's a matter of record, so he's directly responsible. Ooh, indeed. And giving a little bit more weight to that argument, now Breitbart is reporting on a memo that was received by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, shows that the Obama administration aided the group that became ISIS to control the area where ISIS formed the caliphate. Now, this is a secret classified intelligence report. It was sent to Hillary Clinton and other top U.S. officials in August of 2012. The report confirmed that Western and Gulf states were joining with Turkey to support the Syrian opposition to dictator Bashar al-Assad. Now, the report confirmed that the Syrian opposition was being led by three groups, including Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which later became ISIS. Now, the report confirmed that Al-Qaeda in Iraq was communicating through spokesman al-Adnani, who is now the chief spokesman for ISIS. So Western and Gulf states helped the Syrian opposition groups to control the Syria-Iraq border. And this is, of course, where ISIS later violently formed its caliphate. And the report noted the potential for safe havens under international sheltering. This is similar to what happened in Libya. And all of the areas that are cited in this memo have now become the sites of ongoing ISIS terror occupation. So this is a memo that was received by Hillary Clinton about a month before the attacks in Benghazi. And Eric Prince, who was the founder of the global security firm Blackwater, told Breitbart News about the fact that the Obama administration was using its Benghazi consulate in relation to sending weapons to these Syrian opposition groups. And I know we've reported on that as well. And so, of course, 1 month later, that consulate was attacked after Hillary Clinton received the documents. And that's not all. So now we know that the nations that Clinton came out earlier this week, she was bashing several nations for terrorism funding. And she said, we've got to take these out. Well, it turns out they were directly funding another person who wants to hurt this country, Clinton herself. And the trio of nations that were named by Hillary Clinton contributed between $16 and $40 million to the Clinton Foundation. So during her speech, she said, for starters, it's long past time for the Saudis, the Qataris, and the Kuwaitis and others to stop their citizens from funding extremist organizations. They should stop supporting radical schools and mosques around the world that have set too many young people on a path toward extremism. But she failed to mention in her speech that she has received direct funding from these terror nations directly to the Clinton Foundation. So, these are kind of things that she hopes no one's going to check her on, and the mainstream media really won't check her on these things. And she's going to hope that her followers are just too stupid to say, well, why should we criticize them? Shouldn't we be criticizing you for, once again, she doesn't also speak out about the fact that they're chopping off women's heads and treat women worse than they would a parakeet. So, and just to give you a little bit more stories to show you that they know exactly what they're doing when they're creating order out of chaos. Now the CIA chief has come out to say the Islamic State is working to send operatives to the West, and they might be exploiting the immigration issue. Duh. We've been telling you that for quite some time. So this is CIA Director John Brennan told Congress that state militants are training and attempting to deploy operatives for further attacks on the West. They'll rely more on guerrilla-style tactics to compensate for their territorial losses. He said Islamic State is probably working to smuggle them into countries, perhaps among refugee flows or through legitimate means of travel. So, of course, that means they're going to be tightening security, looking for these so-called lone wolves and things to be springing up in the West, knowing that they're being shipped in, knowing that they're already coming across the border, knowing that they're going to be exploiting the refugee crisis. But are they doing anything about that? No. 441 Syrian refugees have been admitted to the U.S. since the Orlando attacks. It hasn't even been a week. So that's nearly 500 people. Imagine how many people have been coming in the weeks prior to this. Dozens of those Syrian refugees have been sent to Florida. And according to a new polling data from Reuters, it shows that support for a temporary ban on any Muslim entering the United States there's a surge in the amount of likely voters who are actually beginning to support this temporary ban, because people can see, no, this is not racist and it's not political incorrectness. We need to start taking care of our own country and considering what we're doing when we are bombing up all of these other countries out there that are turning against the West and then bringing these people in who hate us. It's ridiculous. And you would think that they would do that, but that's really not the plan. The plan is to turn this country into a police state. It's to allow them to bring all of these people into our country and terrorize us so that we all ask to be protected. Because as we're going to see, they're going to be ramping up the amount of TSA presence as well as security that you're going to be seeing all throughout the summer after these attacks at concerts, football games, baseball games, any kind of sports games that you're heading to, travelers. You're going to be seeing a ramp up in security screening as well, because they're really concerned about homegrown violent extremists. And that was a narrative they really pushed out with this most recent attack, that this guy was a U.S. citizen. He was born in New York. So this is homegrown terrorism. He's a lone wolf, when we've already well documented how his ideologies were imported by his father and by getting radicalized online. As well, he traveled to Saudi Arabia several times. So this was an imported ideology, but we're going to be seeing a lot more of that happening in the future. But they're going to police all of us because of political correctness. And they're really talking about the fact that this environment, even with where we can clearly see what's happening, they're particularly concerned about homegrown violent extremists, including and really concerning right-wing extremists. So what do they want to do? Tell us to give up our guns. This is Jay Johnson. Matt Drudge tweeted out earlier. He said, you know what, give up your guns first, buddy. But that's their plan. They can see, like, look everywhere, there's terror all around you. It's not safe, but we'll protect you. So give up your guns. We will put the police and the TSA everywhere you go. We'll take care of it. We'll protect you. You don't need to protect yourself. And we're really seeing a doubling. It's like insanity. Coming up later in the show, I'm going to be talking with David Knight about what's going on in Venezuela as a perfect example of why we need to not listen to this government when they tell us that everything's going to be fine as long as we give them all of our guns. They'll create peace. They'll take care of us. That is a huge trick. It's a trap, and we cannot fall victim to it. Now, President Obama's plan, of course, is to abruptly take Second Amendment rights away from everyone. And also, we have our own police chief here from Austin, Texas, Art Acevedo, who was at one of these DHS meetings, who really, spoke up to remind the council, hey, it's not just these Islamic extremists. We also really need to be worried about right-wing extremists domestically. That's just as real as the threat from Islamic extremism. So good job, Art Acevedo. Guess we won't be having you back in the office anytime soon, or maybe we will. Maybe you can come explain yourself. But even with all of this rhetoric and what we're seeing in the media, I believe it was reported that the loudest claps at the vigil for the Orlando victims was when they said, we need to support the Muslim community. We need to this. And so they're like, yay, yes, love conquers hate. Yeah. But even with that agenda that we're seeing being pushed out, people are breaking through the conditioning. And we're actually seeing gun sales surge among the LGBTQ community, because they know what's going on. Even when you tell them, oh, this is not what you need, they can see that it's time for them to start protecting themselves. A lot of arms dealers are reporting 3 to 4 times what they normally see. They said it was expected. They weren't surprised by the sales surge because it's similar to what happened after Sandy Hook and the Aurora Theater shootings. But what is different this time around is the clientele. Now, the Pink Pistols is a national gun club for gays and lesbians, and it saw its membership soar from about 1,500 members on Saturday to 3,500 by Monday. So dozens of new chapters are springing up. People can see. And then we were actually just in West Hollywood a week or so ago, where everyone was out there celebrating Hillary Clinton. It was like the only place we could find a massive number of people that were just celebrating Hillary Clinton. The streets were painted rainbow flag. I mean, but now, if we were out there now, we would be so surprised to see that West Hollywood has been inundated with pro-gun, pro-gay posters. And these are popping up everywhere in West Hollywood. It's a gay version of the Gadsden flag featuring a rattlesnake on top of the gay rainbow with the hashtag shoot back. So we're going to start seeing this more proactive approach to self-defense in the gay community. And indeed, they need it because now the police are looking into a Craigslist ad that was posted threatening more Orlando-style massacres in San Diego. So this is just someone who's going to post something anonymously. So they're looking in to see where it came from. But, active threats. And a gun range here in Texas, the Shiloh gun range, which is just on the outskirts of Houston, is actually saying that their classes, they were offering free courses for members of the LGBT community. And it's been so popular since the Orlando attacks that they're actually having to increase that, offering even more classes. And they're recommending that gun ranges across the country start doing this to educate people and make this community who probably used to not really feel very welcome at a gun range, thinking, well, we don't fit in here, letting them know that this is 3.8% of the population that we need to tap into to let them understand the importance of the Second Amendment. Whereas you see on the left, they're trying to get that 3.8% of the population to give up the guns and to fight for tighter gun regulations and things. So I think we're breaking through the conditioning there. People are starting to really see what's going on. Now, this is something that happened that when I saw this at first, I'm thinking, why is the former head of the CIA starting to sound like he's listening to InfoWars? Because he's talking about the fact that political correctness is hampering the anti-terror strategy. So this is former director of the CIA and the NSA, General Michael Hayden. He was appearing on CNN, and he warned that political correctness has become a significant hindrance when it comes to countering the threats of Muslim extremism. We've said that as well. He went on to point out how in Fort Hood, the Army knew that Nidal Hasan had become extremist, but they whitewashed all of his reports to make it sound as though it was a good thing that he had all this knowledge because they didn't want to be called bigots. They didn't want to have to deal with someone's religious freedom there. But then you kind of see where he's going with this. It's not about taking away the political correctness. It's almost countering that. Well, we don't care if we offend you at all. It's free speech. We're going to offend everybody. But now it's constitutional correctness. Now they're just going to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to be politically correct. We have to look for terrorists. And don't forget, anyone can be labeled a terrorist and put on this terrorist no-fly list. And you won't even know how to get your name taken off of there. But Jake Tapper is asking him, do you want to just go right into their Facebook account? Do you want to get access to their emails, to their phone, to all of this? And then he goes on to say, well, there was a national outcry that the National Counterterrorism Center had too many people on the no-fly list. But then by Christmas night, the complaint was that there weren't enough people. And so we're probably going to be seeing this again, that there aren't enough people on the no-fly list. And you see, this is one of those words that we're really hearing put out, that even Donald Trump is meeting with the NRA to talk about this no-fly list and how that is going to be the new thing that keeps people from being able to access guns. So I'm sure we'll be keeping our eyes on what's going on there. But one of the things that's becoming a challenge for the internet, which as we're seeing, this is right at the time the FCC is clamping down on control of the internet. The social media giants are having to fight back against the fact that people are live streaming these attacks. The Orlando shooter was updating Facebook in real time with what he was doing. And of course, the deadly attack on a policeman and his wife in France was right there on Facebook Live, a 13-minute video of this attack taking place. And so now we're going to start seeing a crackdown on social media because they're getting sued. One of the Paris attack victims' father is actually going to be suing Google, Facebook, and Twitter, saying, they let their terrorism spread. They let the propaganda spread. And this week, the FCC upheld the commission's net neutrality rules on Tuesday. So this allows the agency to regulate the internet like it's a public utility so they can have more control, and they don't want any free exchange of information in a technocracy. So we will definitely be talking more on that, as well as the hackers who've released the secret Clinton docs from the State Department, which is DNC's Trump opposition file. We'll have more on that coming right up. And then joining us from Dallas, Kit Daniels.
A lot of people ask me, what is the most important area of InfoWars that runs the whole operation that is having such a big effect against the globalists? And I've said it over and over again, it is you, the listeners and the viewers, that send us the intel, the news tips, that support the broadcast, that spread the word. You are 90% of the operation or more. You don't stand beside us, you stand at the heart of InfoWars. When I talk about the people at InfoWars, from customer service, the shipping department, being just as important as our anchors, our researchers, our investigative journalists, and myself, it's absolutely true. Without this team that we built over the last 20 plus years, we wouldn't be able to do any of what we've been doing. And that's what's so exciting, because we finally built up to a point where we now have the launch pad. Introducing AutoShip for InfoWarsLife.com, a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWarsStore.com products. Again, ladies and gentlemen, when products are sold out, you're unable to get them, sometimes for months, but we hold back the products for people that have already signed up for AutoShip. When you choose AutoShip before checkout on your order at InfoWarsStore.com, we'll give you 10% off and give you guaranteed delivery of out-of-stock products that are on your AutoShip list. Plus, we're giving you free shipping on all orders above $50. Listeners have been requesting this for years because it's so easy to forget to reorder the products when you need them each month. Now it's finally here. AutoShip at InfoWarsStore.com and InfoWarsLife.com. It's easy. Go to InfoWarsStore.com, select your favorite product, click on the AutoShip, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. As you know, I coined the term 360 win, and with the new AutoShip feature at InfoWarsLife.com, it's a sure win. You add to that free shipping on orders of $50, it is a can't lose. Visit InfoWarsStore.com and save 10% off on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting AutoShip at checkout, and get free shipping on all orders above $50. That's InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
Well, fresh off of President Obama's epic takedown of Donald Trump, whereby he just proved that he's more upset about Republican rhetoric than he is about actual terrorism, now we have John McCain coming out and saying, you know what, Obama is directly responsible for the Orlando attack. So he took it even a step further than Donald Trump. So Senator John McCain was talking to a group of reporters, and he did say President Obama was directly responsible for the terror attack in Orlando due to his failure to combat the rise of the Islamic State terror group. He said Barack Obama was told, before he pulled everybody out of Iraq, al-Qaeda went to Syria, became ISIS, and ISIS is what it is today thanks to Barack Obama's failures. He pulled everybody out of Iraq, and I predicted at that time that ISIS would go unchecked and there would be attacks. It's a matter of record, so he's directly responsible. Ooh, indeed. And giving a little bit more weight to that argument, now Breitbart is reporting on a memo that was received by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, shows that the Obama administration aided the group that became ISIS to control the area where ISIS formed the caliphate. Now, this is a secret classified intelligence report. It was sent to Hillary Clinton and other top U.S. officials in August of 2012. The report confirmed that Western and Gulf states were joining with Turkey to support the Syrian opposition to dictator Bashar al-Assad. Now, the report confirmed that the Syrian opposition was being led by three groups, including al-Qaeda in Iraq, which later became ISIS. Now, the report confirmed that al-Qaeda in Iraq was communicating through spokesman al-Adnani, who is now the chief spokesman for ISIS. So Western and Gulf states helped the Syrian opposition groups to control the Syria-Iraq border. And this is, of course, where ISIS later violently formed its caliphate. And the report noted the potential for safe havens under international sheltering. This is similar to what happened in Libya, and all of the areas that are cited in this memo have now become the sites of ongoing ISIS terror occupation. So this is a memo that was received by Hillary Clinton about a month before the attacks in Benghazi, and Eric Prince, who was the founder of the global security firm Blackwater, told Breitbart News about the fact that the Obama administration was using its Benghazi consulate in relation to sending weapons to these Syrian opposition groups. And I know we've reported on that as well, and so of course one